I met Kelley through Dragon Thunder. Now, if you've been following the podcast, you'll know that we've been talking about Dragon Thunder all the way through the podcasts. If you have missed our live Dragon Thunder, which was in July, you can get it on the Dragon Thunder portal. If you go to Dragon Thunder portal, you'll have all the speakers, all the videos, all that will be there. I think there is a small charge for it. I don't know what it is, but you can go and find it all there. Kelley, you're hosting. Are you hosting Dragon Thunder this year
I am.
in the States
I'm co-hosting
with?
with Barbara Worsley for the US speakers.
Cool,
Yeah.
amazing. So thank you so much for joining me on the
Oh,
Chatty Ramble. So you
thank you.
are guest number 22,
Oh, wow, right.
and you are the 11th one in this series. I love those master numbers that are showing up.
Well, it's funny. I'm calling myself a white dragon master teacher. It was like time to put on my boots. So
Oh, is that big girl pants and be a grown up?
yeah, like getting up there and putting on my boots, claiming my truth. One of my students said, "You are a white dragon master teacher." I said, "Yes." He goes, "Well, put your boots on." I was like, "Okay."
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I'm really just coming out of like being a very quiet hermit with my dragon work for years and years and years. So, um,
Yeah.
being out loud, talking, sharing about dragons is new for a lot of us, but it's also many of us never saw ourselves here. So it's really amazing to be able to do this, to come out, share, and talk about dragons because they're big medicine and they're very powerful and they have a lot of meaning in our lives, especially right now.
Exactly. And it's what's really interesting is
Mhm.
that, I think we had a conversation before we came on that we've both been doing dragons for a very long time.
Yes.
Um, but people around the world weren't connecting with that, were they? We weren't connecting. We connected last year, you
Yeah.
know, and it's only now that the dragons have hit the collective consciousness
Yep.
and people are ready to hear their message and why they're here. And as you say, dragon medicine. I love that term, dragon medicine.
Thank you.
Mm.
That's from my native roots. I'm part Cherokee. So my Native American family would call the dragons thunderbirds. And thunder medicine is also a term that's used by a lot of Buddhist traditions as well. When I met with monks from Bhutan, they were also handing me books because they knew about my medicine with the dragons. This monk handed me a book about the thunderbirds from Bhutan in the Buddhist tradition.
There's dragons in the Buddhist tradition, or thunderbirds in the Buddhist tradition.
Oh,
There never
there's
is.
there's dragons in many cultures,
Well,
especially Asian cultures and Buddhist cultures.
of
There's
course.
dragons in the Tibetan cultures and all of the different forms and paths of Buddha have dragons in them.
I never knew that. Like, get Buddhism, Chinese dragon, the whole Asian culture
Right.
has the long, which is no
Well,
dragon.
they kept their relationship with the dragon respectful and part of their journey. It was oftentimes the names of the royal people and the families, the kings were dragons, and they were seen as the one who has the greatest power. So, dragons were revered for their power
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and for good reason. And then they kind of became demonized in Western culture and fantasy in the UK, the Dragon Slayer, the whole story of King George and whatnot.
Yeah.
So dragons for me were about something greater that I couldn't even fathom when it all started unpacking. But I
Mm.
went on a very epic journey that went back in time all the way to the fall of man and an, a, an event that took place at that time. Um, I ciphered this over time working with dragons because of my healing work. I was determined to figure something out, and the dragons came to help me. It was like right at the moment when I really needed to understand more about what I was experiencing, because I was aware that we were dealing with another species of elementals that were not from here. And
Right.
when I became engaged with that, I began to work on figuring out why, what that was about, and what my part and role was in knowing that. I believe that when we get shown things, before others understand it. Oftentimes it's because we have the medicine gift for it. There's some medicine or promise or gift we're supposed to bring to that,
Yeah.
whatever that is. And we all have gifts like that, many of us. And a lot of us are here right now to fulfill promises. So for me,
Yeah.
that journey was a promise, and my fulfilling of it came all the way through waking up the dragons on the earth that are our guardians. And they had been sleeping, which also was causing us to be asleep. We've all been going through a massive awakening, haven't we? Like for the last 8 years, more people than ever are feeling, seeing, noticing, and getting in touch with their dragons.
Probably more than that, to be fair.
It
You
goes
think that,
further back for some.
mm,
I do think they're like yourself and others. We're waking up to your part in the story. I also feel like many of us were involved with this. So my part of it was my part, but everyone was part of it. And
we've all
the
played,
energy,
we've all
a
been
lot of
given pieces of the information, pieces of the puzzle, haven't we? This is the thing.
correct.
And what I've certainly come to understand in much more recent times, I've
Mhm.
always understood that we're given a piece of information for us to learn and for us to, talking dragon particularly, for us
Right.
to actually integrate into our own life and understand, do the healing or whatever is required around that
Mhm.
before we can then share that with the wider world. It's a part of that process of integrating within ourselves, isn't it?
It's vital. In fact, the whole point of the work that I was doing for the last 31 years was all about mapping what it means to be a whole human being. And the dragons are all about holistic wholeness, harmony, and love, and unifying their with us, with life, with consciousness. And they're
Yeah.
very simple about it. Dragons are very direct, succinct, just like the pantheon of deities that I meet in nature. Like if I go and speak to the river mother or the ocean or the lord of the forest, the spirits of nature, to me, in my way, are alive and are very approachable when you know how to ask for them to come and speak to you. So I do a lot of ceremony with water and in nature and in the earth itself. And many of us are here working on the nature of things, activating grids and timelines and light language.
Yeah.
Light language was a big part of my journey too. I was drawing, writing, speaking, painting light language, I think when I was in my teens. So
You were ahead of the game there then.
I'm headed into my elder initiation, and I was born on the 22nd. So I'm a 2-2. Those master numbers seem to line up within who I am. So yeah, I have, you go meet your name. So when my name as a medicine woman was given to me from my angelic family, they called me Butterfly Woman. I immediately had to get used to changing because nothing in my life stayed stagnant after that. So we become our name, we become our frequency and our energy. So for me, holding that space for guidance, being an elder, sharing wisdom, being a wisdom keeper, and listening, deep listening is a big part of it too. I mean, we can have all the groovy thoughts we can imagine of do this, do that, but if we don't sit still, ground in and listen and understand what the purpose and meaning for things are, then what difference does it make? For me, if it doesn't have purpose, if it doesn't have meaning, then it's a waste of time. It's a waste. So don't waste time. Really ground, know who you are, integrate however you can, whether you're getting that help from dragons or healers or support. Anybody who's had trauma, I never recommend you do inner work by yourself. You will miss it. There's something deeper for you to get to, and you're going to need support to get there. So
Always.
I always encourage people to, find that support in your life and work with that person.
Yeah.
The newest thing going on the earth is what's exciting me though. We're in a new creation wave. We have hit some evolutionary doors with the earth. We're doing ascension with the earth herself. So
Okay.
she has integrator sovereignty, so do we. And there's this deep push going on to come into your gifts in your greater light. We're being pushed up to meet our light bodies big time. And a huge wave of new dragons have come into our world and into this universe, especially in the last year. Huge waves of celestial dragons are here now.
Yeah,
Those
they've
dragons
been coming in for a while, haven't they?
for a wee bit, but man, they've come in big, like big, big collective. What do we call them? Clutches, you know. What do you call a
Yeah, a
herd of
clan. It's a group's called a clan.
a clan, big clans of dragons coming in. Yes, my Scottish family would appreciate that. So, you know, clan Donkeys, gather your dragons, let's go. So yeah, I definitely have that Scottish side of my family too.
So where
So
do you think, so there's the celestial dragons are coming in, like yeah, there are so many dragons that are available to work with us now,
yes,
besides, our own teams. We have our core team. But there are so many for the collective.
yes.
Where do you think this work's going to go then over the next, I don't know, the next few years? But what's your feeling about why do we have so many different dragons? So obviously, I work with the dragon. I work a lot with the dragons of the land and
Mm-hmm.
the guardian
Yeah,
dragons.
I do too. I'm a guardian. I'm a guardian finder myself, and I find the guardians, the sleeping giants, I call them, all over the earth, and not always just dragons. So I have a lot of different medicines in my pantheon of working with the animal kingdom, the
Yeah.
second oldest kingdom on earth, next to plants.
Mm.
Plants and animals are older than
Yeah,
humans, and rocks came first. So the earth herself is the oldest kingdom. So
of
in working
course.
with the kingdoms that are here, a big part of what is going on right now is what humans have made. If you think about what we created and we look out in the world at how much needs to heal, think about the things that we would like to see in terms of harmonizing with life, coming into greater peace, being able to feed and clothe everyone, being able to feel that we're taking care of ourselves as a species. That's
Yeah.
actually our evolutionary journey right now. So coming into how to do that, a big how to part of it is there's always disintegration and integration. So, a big part of what's taking place right now is purging of shadow within ourselves and our creation. So, looking at the world and what we've made and thinking about what we want to do differently and how it's going to change. Some of those old systems that are actually not taking care of enough people need to change. They need to come into a rebirth, and they may need to fall apart before they get put back together. But
Always.
to me, this time, and so that's just like spiritual logic, right?
Yeah.
So it's logical, it's simple. But on the other side of it is this part I'm excited to talk about, which is new creation. So when we come into our greater gifts with our higher frequencies of light, we step into a field of knowing, an intelligence of knowing greater information about the wisdom of life. And a greater kindness of love and care comes through us in that energy. One of the things that gets to happen for us is there's these unknown creation inventions and relationships that we can't name yet because we haven't come together. And when we come together, there's an opportunity for us to find something out that we couldn't find out alone. So while we're going through all this purging, growth, integration, sovereignty, there's another wave that is about tribe. And this new global tribe of consciousness is where we're going into this energy and where the celestials have come to take us. So there's a whole new opportunity for us as humans to come together on the planet and start to work together to discover what it is that we are going to become together. And that is not something we can name yet. We can talk about our ideas around it. We
Yeah.
can discuss what we would dream it to be. But the truth is, what the divine has told me and the dragons is that we won't know until we make it happen. And we won't make it happen until we're together. And in this togetherness, we're coming into a solidity with the higher earth. And
Interesting.
a very powerful movement of consciousness. We're all on this ride together, you would say. But for me, it's really about honoring. It's a very powerful time of honoring ourselves and our differences, learning how to come together and respect each other more, learning how to work together with greater care. And the dragons gave me an acronym for CARE. CARE stands for C is communication effectively in relationship to each other. And it's a time for us to be able to meet that, to come into greater care. The celestials also give us a lot of beautiful tools and gifts. And I'm actually teaching an advanced ascension course now with celestial dragons. And that course, it's so beautiful because it's our self to source connection is our deepest, most trusted place that I always encourage everyone to go to be empowered. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. So the celestials are all about teaching us to trust ourselves and to honor who we are. And Divine Sophia, the mother, came to me in January and asked me to teach this course. So I started this class and I didn't have an idea fully of what she was taking us into until I did the first one. And it was amazing. In January, I started this class and it was 7 weeks traveling through ancient temples. And they were origin temples of the inner earth, and then going to the earth, and then going to the solar system, and then going, and then so on and so on to the edge of the universe. And it was a birthing process for the individuals in the class because every temple, they were meeting themselves in that frequency and up leveling, and then meeting themselves and up leveling. So it was a really empowering process. And I'm going to be teaching this course ongoingly. But after I finished the first one, all of us were like, wait, there's more. So she said, okay, you've taken them to the edge of the universe. And, at that point, people were giving birth to themselves, their light bodies, or birthing their own creation fields. And we are creators. So the point of talking about this is to bring you back to what we're doing right now, which is so we did a continuation course from the edge of the universe going to source. And that was it was just all my participants just were like Barbara came through my course and she was just like, wow, okay, wow, okay, wow. And she woke up her ancientness. And we're actually starting a podcast called Elder Dragon Song.
Oh,
Because
nice.
of that awakening and what we got in touch with in the journey together. So we're starting to do a podcast. So
Fantastic.
and we're co-hosting, and we're seeing that, there may need to be, to help with this coming together idea, some way to bring us together more. And we are going to work together because we're in the US together on that. And you probably can be doing that where you are with Kev and people in the UK coming together to do things that might become retreats, that might become even more inviting to make opportunities for us to come together. But the beautiful thing about this rising tide in ourselves and in our light and coming into our mastery is about coming into a time when we start to co-create what's new and what we really see being needed on the earth.
Yeah.
And I once went into the future and I looked back at us from the future when we have it all worked out. And in the future, we call this time the fool's economy. And I was like, wow, why the fool's economy? And they said, my spirit guide said, well, it's when all of you were being fooled and tricked into all kinds of beliefs about your power and your ability as a humanity. You were being tricked by people and you weren't really holding your power yet. But when you came into your power, you were like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
War does not need to happen. It's like boys with big toys in a sandbox, and Big Mama wants to come along and go, stop. Enough. When they took Native American traditions to make America's Constitution, working with the Iroquois Confederacy, they left a really important part out, a major one called the Grandmother Council. It's a fact that women have a different brain than men have. And we are the peacemakers. We are the ones who can create peace on earth.
Yeah.
Women have that power. And we have an incredible ability to negotiate information and intuit things that men don't see. The Iroquois people, the ancient tribal people, they would go to the grandmothers before they go on campaigns to fight with each other. They'd go talk to the grandmothers first to find out if they should go fight and how they should do it. So they took counsel with the women, the elder women. And so us grandmothers, we need to be brought back into the equation for the care of the world. And we can't be seen as women have been seen.
No.
And
we've been stripped, but if you just go back to the witch hunter trials.
Well, it's more than that.
We've been stripped of, but generationally, century after century after century. You go back.
I have a beautiful thought for you to think about.
You have a what?
And this is for everyone.
Mm.
I want all of you to hear this. So when we went through the fall and a foreign elemental came into our world, we instinctively rose up our masculine energy to guard and protect. And because we did that, we stayed on with our male energy, and it territorializes. When it's in a protective mode, it's protecting. So we've been all stuck in this mode with our male energy for all of this time until this time of shifting it and awakening. So we can look at men and point the finger, but it wasn't about men. It was about being invaded. And we were invaded by something we couldn't see or understand. And we were also being how we say this, I guess the best way to put it is victims of circumstance because of what was taking place and the way things were orchestrated by various factions that did things with our elemental guardians, because they were asked to go to sleep but never intended to stay asleep as long as they did. That was like an accident. So there was interfering factors creating those longevity experiences where we never intended to be asleep, this, unawake, all of that. And, it was not one thing, but it was a series of events and things that led up to what we've been going through. But now our hearts are waking up and our energy is opening up. And it becomes very interesting when we talk about light awakening. When we wake up into the light of our heart and expand it, we feel much more energy. We have an aura that reaches out way beyond our bodies, and we feel and sense each other and feel the collective a lot. We suffer from a lot of suffering in that feeling because a lot of people don't know how to manage what they feel. The dragons brought in an even bigger equation to that because they bring in big power and big medicine, and it whooshes when it wakes up inside of you, and you're now suddenly swimming in power and you don't know what to do with it. And you start manifesting good and also bad, because when you're in a creation field, you manifest much quicker out of thoughts. So this time right now is educating for use of power and right use of being. We are in the school of learning how to be awake now, and how to be awake with our power together, and how to have all of our feminine side rising now to even out with the masculine. The masculine's just like sick. Some of it's really sick. It's ill from having been on so long that it's become such a distortion of itself. So we're having to help the masculine heal, and the women are coming on board and finding their power and discovering how to be that. And they're evening it out. And when they can meet men who are ready to meet them in their power, women and men can help each other a lot to start evening it out. And we have an ability when we come together as men and women to help each other more than we do by ourselves. And
Always.
there's beautiful love there. That love relationship of the masculine and feminine needs to get out of finger pointing. You know,
Oh yeah.
you know, it's the same, you know, all of that yin yang back and forth. We're in a really powerful time to start healing these rifts and these
Yeah.
misunderstandings, these missteps, these mistakes, these misalignments, and our miscreation. Now, if you start realizing that you have incredible power, that you're manifesting out of your thoughts and your feelings rapidly, then the first thing you want to start getting a control on and gain power with is what you're thinking about. And I had this series of things happening in the last several years with men in my work, men healers, men clients. We'd be talking about the world and all the stuff that's going on in it. And they would have a lot to say about what's wrong with it. And I would stop them and I'd say, please stop for just a moment. And I would like you to both, you know, 2 men on a call, what do you want to see in the world? And they were like, oh. They could barely talk for a minute. And I was like, we have a lot to say about what's wrong with the world, but how many of us are talking about what we want it to be?
Yeah.
Like, I want to see peace in our world. I believe we need to clean up nuclear weapons and get anti-life off the planet. It's antithetical to have a weapon that destroys life.
Yeah.
That is just wrong, folks. It's wrong. It's a miscreation. But our opportunity in understanding how to work with nuclear power and what it does and make it clean, we have the capacity to do a lot more than we've ever allowed ourselves to know. When we can move through time and space, dragons can open gates. I move through all kinds of gates through the elements. I have all the keys I need. And we can move through any kind of place and learn new technology. We also, a lot of us have it. There's a lot here, but a lot of it's been kept, mismanaged, you know, manipulated. And for us in this time of empowerment, what would you like to dream up as a way of seeing our ocean, our relationship to it? How do you see yourself in the relationship you have with water? Water is not just the liquid that drops from the sky and evaporates back up and fills our ocean for ocean life and the rivers and streams and the snow that falls and the rain that falls. Water's way more than all that. There's a greater truth about water that goes deeper when you go into the womb. The water you're born in. That water is a water of life that dragons protect. And there is a connection to it. We call it the mana or the life force of the world and of creation. Water in its ultimate place is liquid life force. And most of us have an incredible understanding about that. But what we don't understand is that it connects us to the ocean of heaven. And the ocean of heaven is all about unity. It's unified consciousness. So if you think about it, the symbols of unity are masculine and feminine energy, our male and female primal energy. We all have the trinity of life. So they carry their tridents, the masculine and the feminine. When we merge them into each other, we have the Vesica Pisces meeting the rose. The energy of the masculine holds the feminine so she can manifest. These energies inside of us are one, and they are what make us one. We all have male and female energy within us. Our role as men and women really is governed by how we be ourselves in the world, not by gender. Your gender is just circumstance.
Yeah.
The truth of who you are is about the role you play in life. So understanding we have roles to play, and there are ways in which we can come together and start to work with our medicine as gifts, our gift, our medicine, what we bring, what you hold in the bundle of your life, what you've learned, what you've cultivated is your pearl. The dragons have their knowledge in their pearl. The reason dragons pearls are like sought after in all the fantasy films and the movies is because if you have a dragon's pearl, you have its knowledge. Well, guess what? You have a pearl. We
Mm.
all have knowledge that we've accumulated. So the symbols of unity is your pearl. The God source has libraries of knowledge. From the source, there are libraries of knowledge throughout creation. We have knowledge in the Akashic, the records of lifetimes, but the Akashic is way more than lifetime records. It's also the record place holder of creation, invention, and galleries of information. There's even a gallery in the Akashic where you can go into this place called it's a field of remembering, and it's the most amazing place to step into so you can start to remember lifetimes and knowledge that would serve you. So we can reclaim our knowledge in service to the greater
Mm.
and to each other. And when we start coming together to build that, then it's a whole new place to exist. One
So
of
how do
the,
you how do you see that? How do you see that panning out? Do you think is there a time scale for this work to take place? Do you think?
I believe that it's happening in
Okay.
galactic families,
Yeah.
and we're starting to bring our light body activity in the higher down into awareness here. So many of us are doing completion work with our higher light. Some of us are even graduating beyond this universe and starting new creation. I've done that myself. And we're starting to bring down the new creation information for this world from pure places that are harmonized. So, for instance, if you go beyond this universe and build a new universe that is all about unity and consciousness, doesn't have an underworld, is non-dualistic, and operates from a place of, when you want to know, well, what makes us move into greater light if we don't have shadow? Well, it's called wonder, you
Yeah.
know. So when you're driven by wonder, and that is the thing that builds creation and makes everything greater, amazing gifts can come from our awareness that bring us into the knowing ahead of bringing it here. So we're able to draw down the information from places where it exists. In that co-creation experience with it, we also become like the scepter, plugging that into the earth. And when the new earth is adopting all of this new creation information, anything going into new creation energy then births itself to the all of us start to wake up to those things. It's like, oh my gosh, I just realized today that we could get along with each other real easily. I
Oh,
mean, hey, I don't have
wouldn't
to
that
be
be wonderful?
I don't have to be angry today. How about I just decide to be loving and kind?
Yeah.
I get to choose my love and kindness, and I
Yeah.
get to choose to be honoring of others. And this whole tension field of competitiveness and aggression is going to start to kind of drift off of us like a veil. It's like shedding your garment, we're going to take
Nice.
that off. And I believe the more we take off and shed as we heal and mend our own selves,
Yeah.
the greater that light gets plugged in, and then everything that goes into the earth heart, and there are more than one earths here, so parallel worlds also are involved in this.
Yeah.
Also, interspecies negotiations going on to transmute all of it are at play. Many of you know about that. Some of you are really hard on it. Thank you for all of your service. I love you, and I'm here with you in that. So I know that we are here doing work on the earth. You do that work, others are doing it, and lots of collectives are coming together now, and women and men who are working on the Reformation project in this universe. This whole entire universe is in a transformative wave, and we're
Wow.
part of something greater. Now, the beautiful thing is the earth is a library, folks. This is an ark. Now, arcs sit in various places in the creation in this fields in this universe, and the arc serves a territory. This territory goes way beyond our Earth and our solar system. So, Earth is an arc, a library of knowledge and life force, holds information that serves multiple galaxies. Like a lot, way more than you realize. So why you might be wondering, like, why are so many people from the first wave of light from this universe here? The first family of light, a lot of us are here on the arc. And because we're completing and we're moving the frequency up. So a lot of us are at play in the ladder climbing that's going on with this whole evolutionary rising experience. And many people are spinning details and stories about it, but it's okay. We all have pieces to those stories. At some
Mm.
point, we're going to reach an evolutionary marker in it where our stories all help us fit and we come into this more and more. And the dragons are always telling me to think spherically. I spoke about that when I was on Dragon Thunder, because we are in multidimensional reality, waking up to it much, much more, very rapid. And that expansion in our consciousness is going to necessitate us being able to understand where the placement of a story goes. Some person might be telling their Atlantis story from the third dimension, while another's telling their story from the first or the second or whatever. So we have all these layers and dimensions and parallels that are effectively our stories. And we're also multiple galaxies of species are now talking to each other. And that's what light language is. We're beginning to speak multiple languages from many, many, many different species together, all feeding into the arc for a reason, because we're in the arc territory. So
Right.
what's happening right now is the languages of the arc connected to the territory of this arc for creation are communicating with each other. So, make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
So people, people can find their way to what they need instinctively and intuitively more and more. They're going
Yeah,
to
of
feel
course.
drawn to a place. Sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to go over there. Well, I felt like I had to go to New Zealand. And the most beautiful things happened when I was doing my work in New Zealand, because to me, they're an ancient family called the Dragon Island people.
Yeah.
They, before long time ago, before, back in
Yeah.
the moments when creation was pure here on the earth and there was much more at play, those were an ancient family to me.
Yeah.
So their symbol, I found it on the South Island. I was so blown away. There's this place called the Castle Rocks, and I was traveling to complete some ceremonies between the east and west coast of the oceans as I was doing my work there for the earth. And it was really interesting. I get to this park and there's rocks, these big spiring rocks, and everyone's going towards the park. And spirit, my dragons go, no, no, look the other way. And so I turn around, and on this mountain was a gigantic Ouroboros, and it was coming up out of the sand. It was the most beautiful
Wow.
picture. And I share it in my Dragon Awakening class. I tell my
Amazing.
history story with the dragons in a class.
Amazing. Wow. So you've got an eclectic set of tools and information and goodness knows what else within your remit. So where can people find you and find out more about you and your work and what's coming up for you and everything else?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on Facebook a lot. And it's primarily the social media platform I use the most, I think. I'm also on LinkedIn and other social media platforms as well.
Yeah.
I think I have an Instagram page, but
Yeah.
I'm mostly active on Facebook. But I also have a website. It's
Okay.
lovewisdompower.com. And, I have a number of courses I'm teaching right now. I also offer a free class to learn the history walk I had, my journey experience with the dragons. And I find that when I share that story, people tell me often that they feel like I help them put pieces together. And I think
Amazing.
that's true when we tell our stories with each other.
Yeah.
You probably have had that experience too. I know many of us do when we share our stories. So we help people put the pieces together.
Absolutely. And so many of us are, especially our dragon stories, because there's so many of us now doing this work.
Yeah. Well,
And
and
it just
so many
connected
people, they,
people
sorry to
connecting
talk.
the dots, isn't it? It's helping people
I,
connect the dots of their journey, isn't it?
I just really want to say, the dragons I worked with from the beginning of my journey were called the dragons of ascension and light.
Nice.
And the biggest thing I really want to say too is people are struggling to understand how to see the dragons as good, how to understand them as light, how to see them in partnership with God, with the creation field, and
Mm,
how, you know, but the God source showed me that dragons were partnered with us from the beginning of creation.
mm,
So our experience and true relationship with dragons is ancient, as
yes.
ancient as everything in creation. We
Yeah.
have been partnered with elemental energy from the beginning of everything,
Mm,
from the source. And it was source who put that together. So we are a product of the source, the children of the light. And so are the dragons. They're in partnership with us in light. And I think that has been a real challenge for a lot of people, especially because in biblical terms, in Revelations, the dragon is demonized
yeah.
and the devil. So, is
Yeah.
there dark side to things? Yes. And not by choosing. You get to make the choice of where you go with your light, just like you do with your path and everything else you choose
Mm,
to do in life.
yeah.
Choose the light, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Kelly, it's been fabulous to have you on the show. Thank you so very much for joining me.
An honor.
So we'll make sure we've got the links below for your Instagram website and everything else.
Yes,
And of course, people can catch up with your Dragon Thunder talk. You're doing a talk this year on Dragon Thunder, you're just hosting.
I'm going to host and talk.
So people can
I'm being
people
bold and daring.
so people can catch up with your so obviously so you're hosting all the talks
Yes,
stateside. And
yes,
obviously catch up also with the talk that you give at Dragon that you give at Dragon Thunder too. Kelly,
yeah.
thank you so very, very much.
You're so welcome. It's so great to meet you. I love what
Take
you
care.
do.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Right.